Hello everyone, it's good to see you back. Today we're diving into the depths of destruction with a Void Titan build that's guaranteed to leave your enemies in awe. If you're ready to unleash chaos with Hazardous Propulsion, harness the power of volatile rounds, and double down on devastation with the two-tailed fox, then you're in the right place. It's also going to be an ideal build for those that have the new Lotus Eater rocket pistol on hand, as this little fella alone will be giving you health regen, shields, weaken, and bolt charge damage through all heavy weapon means. So let's give Arc a break and dive into Void for once. Starting with exotic armor, Hazardous Propulsion, with exotic effect Danger Close, it states, weapon precision hits or final blows have a chance to load a kinetic Exodus rocket. Activating your class ability fires loaded Exodus rockets. Damaging targets with Exodus rockets temporarily increases the damage you deal with all rockets. One of the best exotic chess pieces in game for any type of build that will be using your class ability a lot. While the exotic and Stormke's aspect is the go-to meta everyone runs with, the following is also surprisingly good when paired up with the Void subclass and Bastion aspect. The idea that you can dish out a huge amount of damage via missiles generated, gain overshield, and also gain increased rocket damage for X amount of time is very powerful when used in a boss encounter or taking on mini bosses. This build will be using volatile round and hazardous missiles as a way to delete enemies even faster than normal, which I must say, it does well when paired up with the new Lotus Eater, Sidearm, and Two-Tailed Fox exotic. Our second exotic is Two-Tailed Fox with exotic effect, Twin Tails, and Play with your prey, which states, shoot 2 rockets, 1 void and 1 solar, that can track onto the same target. The void rocket suppresses enemies, the solar rocket causes damage over time. So I chose the following as it has 2 elements tied to it, which will provide extra bits of damage over time. While void suppresses targets, having volatile rounds active will also apply volatile effect on the target as well, so in its base form, you're getting 3 debuffs going instead of the 2. On top of that, I also have the Catalyst unlocked, which will provide Arc Jolt effects, so that is 4 effects on a singular target all going off at once. This to me was better as it's offering so much to the end user, and makes it useful against certain champions. I did also keep in mind giving Deathbringer a try, which would have been excellent at wiped out grouped enemies, which Two-Tailed Fox may fail at doing so. Either way you look at it, as long as you use a Void Rocket Launcher for the build, the choice of exotic weapon can be expanded further later on. For aspects and fragments, we have the following. Offensive Bulwark, where while having an overshield, your grenade charge faster, you have increased melee range and damage, and melee final blows restore a small portion of your overshields. Bastion, where casting your barricade grants overshields to you and your allies over time. Echo Persistence, where void buffs applied to you are increased. Echo of Starvation, while picking up a Void Breach and Orb of Power, grants you Devour. Echo of Undermining, where your Void Grenades weaken. And Echo of Harvest, where defeating weakened targets creates an Orb of Power and Void Breach. I have seen quite a few people go with Controlled Demolitionist aspect instead of Offensive Bulwark for a build like this, as it will allow greater control in the amount of volatile explosions being done, but also the amount of healing it will provide. While this is something to keep in mind, the build can effectively create volatile rounds on the fly through their weapon perks or incinerate exotic effect. The idea for the build is not only make use of volatile rounds through seasonal mods, but also use our class ability and exotic armor to spam missiles against targets, while also getting a rocket buff, increased overshields, and fast ability regen all in one. All of this is already being covered within the exotic aspects given, but the rest will be relying on the fragments to achieve this. Echo Persistence and Starvation are going to increase how long our overshield lasts, while also giving us Devour, which will give us a health buff in one. This will replace Controlled Demolitionist usage in the build in a way which ultimately allows us to be tanky while on the go. Undermining and Harvest both go together as they both work off each other's effects. Harvest will ultimately be important as this will be giving us an Orb of Power which we can use for damage via Surge mods and Super Energy while on the go, but also giving us Void Breaches which will regenerate class ability on hand. This can be very useful if your resilience stat is quite low and you need additional ways to keep the stat topped up if you don't have other ways to do so. This however can be replaced if you want something more impactful in the build, such as Echo Explosion, Remnants, or even Instability to a degree. And most importantly though, having Volatile Marksman, Melee and Harvest, and Void Flux is a must for the setup in mind. All of these will be working off each other, and as long as you trigger a volatile reaction, you'll be able to weaken and cause multiple volatile hits one after another. Hence why this build is set out the way it is, as you can pile on the damage while also being very protected with the right setup in mind. For the mods and stats, we have Resilience and Discipline marked with the highest priorities of the build. Resilience, we have ours at tier 10 for 30% damage reduction. I've added one harmonic resistance mod for incoming elemental attacks, which is good enough for the build. We do also have overshield be applied to the build as well, so this will increase our survival odds by quite a bit and will be a constant source of increased survival. At this point we have ours at tier 9 for a 1 minute 27 second cooldown via vortex grenades. At this time, I wasn't able to reach tier 10 as my stat armor wasn't flexible enough to activate it. This is fine, as we do have offensive bulwark on hand that will grant us a slow increase of grenade energy over time when overshields are active. This is helpful, as this combined with Echo of Undermining and a Void Rocket Pistol will ultimately allow us to weaken and increase overshields present from start till finish, while at the same time giving us ample uses of our grenades. You can freely switch grenades, but Vortex is great for quick lasting damage when you need it most. So for the rest of the stats, you should use the following as well. Impact Induction times 2 for a 70% grenade buff, Momentum Transfer times 1 for a 12% melee buff, and Bomber for a 12% melee buff, all are recommended to have. Additional mods, we also have the following. Harmonic and Kinetic Siphon for creating auto power via matching weapon types, Heavy Ammo Finder, Reserve and Scavenger mods for a heavy weapon, Charged Up, +1 in armor charge, a Void Weapon Surge for a 10% Void Weapon buff, Time Dilation where charged by light decay rate is increased, and Powerful Attraction for automatically collecting auto power when using class ability. Now as we have covered our exotic heavy weapon, I will then advise you to pick some super weapons for the build. What I recommend are all optional, so always keep this in mind. Our primary is the Patronal Lost Causes with Strategist and Kinetic Tremors. Considering how often our class ability will be used, I would recommend a weapon that has the Strategist on it to help escalate overshield usage over time. And while you can get away with not having it, it would mean you need to opt into mods and generate energy towards class ability over time instead. This can be done if you intend to also create void breaches as well, but only if you decide to opt into a different weapon or even perk instead. Overall, the weapon is pretty reliable for anything class ability based. Our secondary is the Lotus Eater with Repulsor Brace and Destabilizing Rounds. This here will be the main fighting force behind our build in terms of proccing volatile rounds and constant debuff towards targets. As a rocket pistol, this will get a damage increase via the Hazardous Propulsion once active, and does provide a highly adequate amount of damage towards singular targets incredibly well. All the damage you're building up from this weapon alone is honestly exotic tier, and does feel every now and then. Now as a heads up, do make sure you stock up on enough reserve and special ammo finder mods if you tend to use this with another rocket pistol in mind. It will make the set a whole lot more effective as time does go on. Conjuring up the ability to land numerous hits onto a singular or group target via volatile rounds and hazardous propulsion, this build is another great way for ad clearing on the higher difficulties of your choosing. I think a lot of people are so focused on using Arc at the moment that they are severely missing out on what is being offered via the other subclasses instead. This as an example hits hard with common weapons we are so familiar with, while also doubling down on the fragments and aspects that will bolster our defenses and attacks even further. The biggest thing to take away from this though are the seasonal mods which can help apply even more void effects just from using our weapons alone. Volatile Marksman grants our void weapon volatile rounds for free upon a number of hits. Combine this into Melee and Harvest, which can cause Volatile Blast to produce a Weakening Blast, and you get a non-stop, volatile and weakening build without the need of fragments to help. In our case, we have ways to weaken and apply volatile rounds on our own accord, but this here allows our Void Sidearm and Exotic Rockets to play an even bigger role when dealing damage against certain tiers of enemies. You of course do want to make sure you run a full or near full rocket build, just so hazardous rocket buffs get spread down to the additional weapons we have available. But outside of something quite common to do, the build offers everything you would want when dealing with bosses and major threats alike. Extra defenses, increased damage, free weaken, and volatile rounds, and a fast class ability should be enough to carry you and your team in whatever GM or even dungeon you're in. Only thing I would change next time would probably be able to add a strand weapon with slice for more weakening effects, and maybe a void machine gun, just so we can expand our season mods effects in more than one way. If you need a build that's not arc related but something more similar DPS wise, then this build is something suitable for the seasonal mods alone. So there we have it. I hope you all enjoyed the build breakdown. If you have any thoughts on the content shared, then please leave a comment, a like and a sub while you're here. Dim link for the builds located below in the pin section, and I do advise you to check out my playlist for more. It was great sharing today's video with you all, and I hope to see you again soon.